Yesterday on Ramblings with Rebecca, we talked about water security and learned that water security isn't just about having enough clean water, but also being free from water-related harms. Usually this refers to things like floods and tsunamis. And we learned that actually too much water can be just as much of a problem as too little water. After shooting Ramblings with Rebecca, we learned that it's not only people who are sometimes water insecure, but iPhones, when dumped in the toilet during the potty training of a 2-year-old, also tend to be a little bit water insecure and in fact very prone to water-related harms. So, thanks to Audrey for allowing me to steal her iPhone 4 in order to film today's episode. Appreciate it! But that's okay, because today we're gonna keep on the security theme, go into food security. So, I'm Rebecca Farnum, you're watching Ramblings with Rebecca. Today let's talk about food. This is a subject I actually know something about. You can tell because I'm wearing glasses. Do I look smarter? Now, as I mentioned very briefly at the end of yesterday's episode, food and water are really intricately linked. This is actually why I'm doing a master's in water security. It's because I am actually looking at food. And in further episodes, we'll talk about just how strong those linkages are and where they are. We'll deal with concepts like virtual water and blue and green water and all of that kind of stuff. For now, we're going to stick on the security basis and just kind of define food security, get that kind of building block out of the way, if you will, and then have lots of fun with other concepts later. We'll also later on do an episode on whether or not securitizing and kind of adding the word security to the end of everything is good or bad and why and what the debate is there. But for now, the way most people use food security. 3 main pillars. Many organizations and researchers, most notably the FAO, add a 4th. The main 3 that everyone uses, though, availability, access, and use, or utilization, depending on how posh you're feeling in your use of you words. Availability. Does the food exist? Globally, food availability is not a problem. We are still producing enough worldwide to feed the population. There's a lot of speculation that this won't be true if population growth, goes haywire as it has been. But of course, technology is also increasing and yields are improving and blah, 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 blah. So globally, there's enough food to feed everyone. This is not true in some countries and communities in kind of more micro levels. So some countries simply do not have enough food to feed everyone within them. They don't produce enough and they don't import it because they can't afford it or they just don't bother and they have other priorities, that kind of thing. Globally, not an issue though. The main, kind of the biggest pillar that people tend to fall down on and that causes the majority of the food insecurity, I would say, is this issue of access, right? So that's, can people get the food that is existent in their area? So technically food is available, but can they access it? Can they get at it? Oftentimes the biggest issue here is poverty, right? So the food is in the supermarket or the store, but so-and-so can't afford it, right? It's at the market, we can't get to it because we don't have money. Yeah, and I mean, there are other ways to not access it. Right? Sometimes it's very deliberate, but generally speaking, poverty is the big one there. And then the 3rd pillar, food use or utilization. This is about how the food is actually used in your home and by your body. So this involves safe preparation, right? So if eggs and meat and things like that aren't being prepared well and, actually are causing damage to you when you eat it, and you're getting sick and salmonella and that kind of thing, you're not food secure, even though you can afford it and you have enough food and blah, 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 right? So it's not just about calories, it's also about making sure that your food isn't killing you or causing you other harms. It's also then, of course, by your body's ability to intake it, right? So you can eat all of the calories that you want, and if your body can't actually get at the nutrients and the calories in that food, it's not doing you any good, right? I mean, so there's kind of this whole chain, if you will, of food from growth to in your body and actually, used by your body and whether or not. Anywhere along that chain, if it's broken, you're food insecure. And then the FAO and some others add this 4th pillar, stability, which is really just focusing on, are all of those 3 things happening year-round, year after year after year, right? So you're not having seasonal hunger. And if there is some kind of seasonal hunger, you're not food secure either. So those are the big things. You have to have food, you have to be able to get at the food, and you have to be able to use it well. And those things need to be happening all of the time. And if all of that is happening, you're food secure.